in general, but tonight is to gain control of the roads to the benefit of the residents and the visitors, residents and visitors alike. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, but the question is, how will we do this? How will we accomplish this? And how do we gain control when the volume of traffic on our roads continues to grow? And I think we all understand that it will continue to grow. How do we gain control when this ever higher volume of traffic routinely operates at speeds that are 10, 15, and 25 miles an hour over the posted limits? And finally, how do we gain control when even the most obvious problems that we face take years and years to be solved, if in fact they can be solved? So while we consider how we retake control of our roads, safety declines. 5 of the worst intersections in Southold Town are in Mattituck. 5 of those 5 intersections are within 3 blocks of where we're meeting tonight. And some of those 3 blocks do not have sidewalks. So traffic is first and foremost a safety issue, but it's a quality of life issue too. What do people, myself included, do when we're stuck in traffic? Well, we GPS our way through the nearest neighborhood, and once we break clear, we hit the gas because we've got to make up for lost time. So while all of us, I'll step back. So while all of us in Southold Town know we will grow and are working to answer how we will manage this growth, Mattituck and Laurel are left to wonder specifically, will traffic be allowed to destroy our quality of life? It's been having a negative impact for a number of years. And so while we won't gain control of our roads tonight, we will learn about the impact that traffic is having here today, learn what is being done to manage our existing traffic problems here and townwide, and learn what we must do now to meet the guaranteed traffic challenges of the future. So I'm going to introduce our panel, and then I'll introduce our facilitator. So our panel members tonight: Legislator Krupski, Supervisor Russell, Town Engineer Michael Collins, Chief Flatley, Chief Peter Miller. Is that Charlie Gwelly back there? You Charlie Gwelly? I don't believe we've met. Jeff Straw, his second time tonight, that's the mask. Doug Pearsall from Eastern Truck Brewing Company, and Mr. Ed Harps Farms. So, and Mr. Strong is here for the Mattituck Chamber of Commerce. So tonight's meeting is going to be facilitated by a very good facilitator, Mary Eisenstein. And once she's given a quick rundown on the ground rules for how the meeting is going to unfold, she's going to open the floor for any panel member who would like to make a statement. And then once any panel member who wants to make a statement has made a statement, we'll open the floor, Mary will open the floor to everyone for your comments, your questions. Thank you very much. Mary.
Good evening, everyone. Are you okay if I take my mask off to facilitate this evening? Well, I feel like it's deja vu all over again, gentlemen, and so with a different perspective this evening. So after our panel, whomever would like to make a statement, what we would like from you this evening is, if you have a question, to please raise your hand, stand up, identify yourself and the hamlet that you're from, and then ask your question. And if you want it to be directed to a certain person, please do that. We have received a few questions, so we'll flip back and forth. So, gentlemen, who would like to start and make an opening statement? Anyone?
So
Legislator
I'd
Krupski.
just like to thank the Mattituck-Laurel Civic for having this forum. You know, I'm the county chair Public Works and Energy, and this is a very common traffic problem, or one of the most common problems throughout the whole Suffolk County. So it's not just, you mentioned 5 bad intersections, right? There's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So, I've heard a lot about different solutions to different improvements to different intersections. If there's no problem at the intersection, it's because it's designed right and there's enough space, and there's not too much traffic there, so you don't even think about that intersection. So, thank you for having this to try to address what is a common problem.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else like to say, Supervisor Russell?
Yeah, first I just want everybody to make sure that they should have no illusions. This is an issue that's been growing for years. When I was young and I was growing up, the seasonal population was just that. It started on Memorial Day and it wrapped up around Labor Day. And most of the traffic in those days was people that had actually come out for the summer. The tourism, look, the town has lobbied or has advertised itself very heavily over the years. Ultimately, this is where we find ourselves, in a situation where we can't handle the volume of traffic that all of that advertising has created. Ultimately, at the time, this started 25, 30 years ago. At the time, we should have stopped and said, okay, what do we expect from this? And we didn't really do that. So now we have an infrastructure issue. We have a lot of traffic, very infrastructure that's just not equipped for it. And I hope we get into, I'm sorry, it's so long statement, but I hope we get into a lot of the details tonight, because I have this feeling like, well, if we just address this one business, it's creating all the problems. And none of that is true. So we'll hopefully get into those discussions later.
Thank you for that. Anyone else like an opening statement?
Mary, you're looking at me.
I was just seeing your body language, which meant your
I
eyes.
think from a law enforcement perspective, and I know Dave can speak a lot more, but from the Riverhead side, because their traffic is certainly a lot heavier than what we experience on our side of it. But we've tried to work with the state and the county through any means that they have to try to alleviate some of the traffic that we see during the fall season, at least. We did go up to New York State Inform, sat with them. We came up, kind of devised a plan that we've been using for the last couple of years. If anybody has any questions on that plans, we can certainly inform you as to what we did set up. It's just, we work with what we have. We have mainly in Southall, we have 3 main roads coming into Southall, and a lot of traffic that gets funneled through those 3 roads when traffic does get heavy.
Thank you, Chief Flatley. Does anyone else want to say something?
Yeah, there's easy fixes to this problem, but no one wants to do them because no one wants bigger roads, no one wants to extend the expressway, everyone wants to stay the way it is, and all the reasons for, this is why we're here, because we like it like that. But we have, as the chief says, worked with what we can do. So in Riverhead, at the start of the traffic problem, or the beginning, I should say, of traffic for the whole East End, we did develop a 3rd lane at one of our farm stands to help people bypass that who are going east, and that has helped greatly as far as moving the traffic a little bit faster. So there are some solutions that we can do that do work.
So I'm recalling you verbatim said that same thing the last time we did this. So, all right, well, thank you for being here. And so let's turn it over to you. Anyone have questions, especially maybe on what Chief Flatley just said about the plan that you guys have worked out and started to implement? Stand up, state your name, Leroy, and the question.
I'm Leroy Heiliger. I'm a deacon at First Unity Baptist Church on Factory Avenue, and I live here in Mattituck. My question is, I'd like to direct it at Michael Collins here, and also to the chief. This article was about the grant funding on Bay Avenue. Now, for several years, I've come before the town board different occasions about the problems we're having on Factory Avenue. The trucks, the traffic, the speeding. I've been here since 1955, and of course, it's changed. Factory Avenue has become I don't know how to explain it, but it's an avenue that is a byway right now, with the way traffic comes off of Old Sound Avenue and also from the main road going to the plaza. Then they constructed the Mattituck homes and the pedestrian traffic. Now, Mr. Rulon, when he was here, he helped me a lot because the pedestrian traffic coming from the cottages had to go, when they wanted to walk down to the plaza, they had to go around the railroad track. We got that problem solved where they could, with the MTA, where they could come right across and go down.
So Leroy, are you wanting them to do something, because that one problem
Yes.
was solved, so what problems would you like them to
Well,
address now?
I'd like to have the New York Consolidated Funding application that Bay Avenue got, so that we can have someone come and study Factory Avenue, so we can have it made safe according to the New York State street safety law. That it would be safe for the residents, a study made, so we can apply for this grant that Bay Avenue got for our people that live there on the north side. And also, if we could have more of a police presence, I know it's difficult, to stop the speeding that goes on through there.
So Leroy, you want them to address the speeding and the application, grant application that
Yes.
Bay Avenue. So would you like Michael Collins to take that first?
Yes, I would.
So the grant was not a safety study. The grant was just to replace all of the sidewalks on Bay Avenue to current ADA standards. And we actually have looked at Factory Avenue before. I don't set the list as to which sidewalks get upgraded or not, but I can discuss that with the incoming highway superintendent. And if it's something we can accomplish with existing funds, we will. If it isn't, then we can try and seek a grant for it. But it's not something you have to wait to get a grant for.
Now, can I ask something, a question about sidewalks? On the sidewalk right across from the street on the east side, up to the railroad track, was started but never completed. Then on the over the railroad track going to Old Sound Avenue, why can't they make a bicycle path so the pedestrians and the women and the children don't have to walk out in the street? If just on both sides, if they, through the residential area, just make bicycle path, because we're getting a lot of bicycle traffic now too.
There probably, I can't speak for this because I haven't looked at it specifically, there probably isn't enough room to do streets, a bicycle path, and sidewalks within the right-of-way. And the reason why it doesn't cross the tracks in both places is probably because we didn't get permission from the state to do that. You have to, when you cross a railroad, I'm sorry, not the state, the railroad. The railroad has a very specific way in which you can cross that. It requires its own crossing arm. It's way more complicated than just actually creating another railroad crossing.
So
There's a limited amount of space within the road. It's only so wide, and you can't make it wider than that without taking people's property. Within that, you cannot construct all of the things you're asking for.
Do you remember when the truck, that trailer, the dump truck crossing the railroad track? He flipped over and went down in the woods, and a lady coming up to the railroad track just narrowly missed her. That was a couple of years ago. It was in the paper.
Okay.
Chief Flatley, do you remember
I
that?
do.
Thank God there wasn't some pedestrians at that point when that happened. I don't know whether he was speeding or whatever, but he flipped right over and went into the woods.
I
and
think with
just
the
narrowly
railroad, yeah, I
missed
think with the railroad that crosses that road at that particular point, I know we've discussed it before, like when landscape trucks go over it or tractor-trailer trucks go over, it's very loud because just the way it's constructed right there. But I think it also helps to slow traffic down a little bit on Factory Avenue. I mean, Factory obviously is a well-traveled roadway, and there are pedestrians along there, a lot of truck traffic that are unloading at the marketplace in that shopping center. But, you know, we can certainly try to have more officers up there. We've put the speed sign up there a couple times. I don't know if, you know, on the north end of Factory, it's possible to slow it down even more. But I think by the time they hit the traffic, you know, the train tracks, and when they get to the entrance to the shopping center, I think a lot of the traffic is starting to slow already. It may seem a little faster, but, you know, past the church, but.
So Chief Flatley, in the question that Leroy asked, are you saying then you are going to help mitigate the problem of speeding? You're going to help perhaps bring in officers to slow down the speeding, or what
Well,
are you
we'll definitely
suggesting?
address it with some of the techniques that we have, and we have speed trailers, and that try to remind you, we usually try to follow those up with an officer working radar on that roadway, so we will definitely put a renewed effort on Factory.
Thank you, Leroy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Another question. Did you want to say something more? No? Okay. Yes, if you would stand up, state your name, hamlet, and question.
Hey, how you doing? Denise Garrett-Geis, Mattituck. So I have a couple questions. For Supervisor Russell and Police Chief Flatley. Can there be no left turns out of Love Lane? Is that a possibility? Because you see a lot of accidents coming, like it's very hard to make a left turn. I never make a left turn out of Love Lane, but you see a lot of people, especially that aren't from around here, making left turns. Is that a possibility that you could do no left turns out of Love Lane or not?
Well, let me just tell you, first and foremost, I think it's foolish to try to make a left out of
I
Love Lane.
totally agree. but
And
that
it's
doesn't mean
also
people don't do
foolish
it.
to try to make a left out of New Suffolk. Actually, I'm going to just acknowledge for a second Councilwoman Napa, who works with the Transportation Commission. I think when you first came on board, I think we said, welcome, we're going to have you work on traffic, deer, and helicopters. And in the new term, we're going to have to start tackling yellow bears. But no, the reality is the Transportation Commission looks at all there's issues. There's a larger issue that we're talking about, which is traffic, a townwide problem, and then these smaller issues throughout the town, these more site-specific issues. And I know the Transportation Commission looks at all of those things. So I'll defer to them if they have any answers at this point, but I know it's been looked at.
Okay, is that a possibility though?
Yeah, so, in the Love Lane traffic study that was done.
Sarah, would you just
Oh,
stand
sure,
up and
sorry.
let
I'm
everybody
Sarah
know who you
Napa
are?
from Southfield Town Board. I'm the liaison to the Transportation Commission. In the traffic study that was done for Love Lane, that was one of the options that they gave. Since we decided as the town board to move forward with trying to do the roundabout there, we didn't do that option of no left turn. It is one of their solutions as a possibility.
Right.
We can discuss with the roundabout. I know Michael Collins has been working on it. We're at sort of an impasse with the state right now on the size of the roundabout. So if it ends up that we aren't able to do a roundabout there, we can definitely go back and look at the other options that our consulting firm gave us for that study.
And meanwhile, you couldn't do no left turns? I mean, there's lots of weekend people and summer people that do U-turns in the middle of lane, which drives me insane. Left turns that just seem stupid. I don't even understand why. But, I mean, why? Because I know the traffic circle is going to be a distance out. That's not going to happen tomorrow. It's just realistically not going to.
It's definitely something that we discuss with the Transportation Commission, and then I can bring it to the town board for sure.
So then,
In the meantime.
I don't know if you're the question. So, like, you see a lot of people jaywalking across there too, which is extremely dangerous and again, stupid. is there anything, I mean, can there be more police presence there? And, you know, somebody is gonna get killed there. People walk across there all the time, and it just seems common sense would kick in and go, it's not a place to walk, but it apparently doesn't. I
Yeah, let
mean,
me just say real quick, first of all, when you talk about left-hand turns, you're talking about Route 25, you're talking about New York State. So New York State is gonna have to be heavily involved in that, a lot of that decision-making, just so you know.
Right.
The town doesn't have unilateral abilities to impose or to create solutions on 48, Route 48, and then Route 25. We're sort of beholden to New York State and Suffolk County.
right,
And I guess I would say the same thing for pedestrians crossing there. We can't put up a sign.
right.
I mean, then the state has to put up any signs on that road. We can't, as a town.
Sure,
do
I mean,
that.
they just seem like they would be helpful options, like, meanwhile, to work with the state with. And so, then going into Love Lane, so the third question is, I know the GPS, which you cannot change, the trucks go into Love Lane. Can there be something built that just doesn't, overhead, that doesn't allow trucks into Love Lane? I'm talking, no, I'm serious, I'm being very serious. If there's a large object that goes around, trucks cannot go into Love Lane. Is that like anything that could potentially happen?
If you're gonna do that, you might as well take it up and put it in front of the Red School up on Route
I'm good with
25.
that. I'm good with the toll booth, a very expensive toll booth to come in. Our roads would be paved with gold and we wouldn't have to pay any taxes. However,
I'll let the chief answer that, but I don't think that's allowed by law.
No, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen of any kind of, measure like that to control size of vehicles in there. I mean, most we have to work with is, the laws that are on the books and weight limits for Love Lane.
right, but I mean, the weight limits, those big trucks can't possibly be within the weight limits.
No, they're probably not.
So that, I mean, that's just something that seems like it really needs to be looked into. I'm just trying to think of actual solutions to problems that, and I understand that they're not microscopic and, but I don't know, I just think. And the only other thing, Chief Flatley, so I live on Sigsbee Road and we have the only light there and people drive like a bunch of lunatics down that road. I mean, like crazy lunatics down that road. So maybe some more police presence down there would be greatly appreciated.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Anyone else? Question. Please stand, state your name, Hamlet, and question and who it's directed to.
Hi, I'm Joan Sear, and I'm here on behalf of the Greater Jamesport Civic Association. And my question is for Chief Hager-Miller. Don't want him to feel left out. As you're aware, the town of Southold this past year has reduced the weight limits on Peconic Bay Boulevard in their town from 8 ton down to 4 ton. And I know that our Civic Association has been in touch with the town and asked if you would possibly make the same accommodation, because what we're seeing are like private tour buses and such using Peconic Bay Boulevard as a bypass, and we'd like to limit that and force them to, turn up, Shade Tree Lane or something like that. So what's the prognosis for reducing the weight limit on Peconic Bay Boulevard?
Well, I would like to say we would like to be in unison with Southold Town as far as the weight limits on the boulevard. So you wouldn't want to go from one weight limit to another weight limit, that wouldn't make any sense. So we did look at it a little while ago, and we were kind of in line, but now we have to look at it again and see what they're at.
Well, they're at 4 and you're still at 8, so that's where you're at.
Right, well, I don't know, I have to look at their town code, because I wasn't told that they were at 4 in the town code yet, so.
No, we've been told that that's been changed in the
Okay.
town code.
That's been recent.
Okay, we'll definitely take a look at it.
Thank you.
Are there exceptions to weight limits?
Local deliveries.
Buses, any kind of bus?
If I can take one of these questions that came in by email, and it's a follow-up, and it's from Carrie Friend, who has been doing a lot of work on Peconic Bay Boulevard, and I'm not going to read what she's written, but she is addressing...
That's me.
Carrie, do you want to stand up?
All of a sudden, everybody looks. Hi, everyone. I actually didn't anticipate coming today. I literally drove the speed limit coming home from Nassau. I absolutely did. When I hit Peconic Bay Boulevard. Yes, I'm Carrie Friend. I am the one that actually helped push for the limit, for the 4-ton limit. I have been on the North Fork for about 20 years now. I moved from Aquabog to Laurel. I live right on Peconic Bay Boulevard. And I have been a thorn in their side ever since, but with all due respect, I want to commend Chief Flatley and the police officers because you are dealing with a very small police force and you have a large and growing population that is very, very difficult to monitor. I know he has been a presence on the boulevard quite a few times. But what we have seen is that people will hit the brakes when they see that officer sitting there. And as soon as they go past it, they hit it. I'm not even talking about the tourists at this point. I am talking about the local residents. We cannot even open our windows. The constant sound of traffic. All I was trying to do yesterday, decorate for Christmas, I had my music up so loud because I couldn't hear for all the traffic coming down the road. And what does that sound come from? People exceeding the limit. I am not talking about doing 35, 40 miles an hour. I am talking about people hitting the gas doing 50, 60 miles an hour on a very, very narrow, winding road.
So Carrie, what's the question? Do you have, is it to Chief Flatley or is it, what specifically is the question?
Anyone. We need, one, I would say take us off Waze. It's done. I work in Nassau County, and the people that I work with, they go, oh, we don't know, we don't sit in traffic. We found a road called the Boulevard. You wanna see a teacher turn red, see red in, in an instant? We need,
It'd be nice to take us off Waze, but I haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah.
Send me.
Everyone's tried.
We tried that with the red lane too, with
Right.
Google.
Yeah, I mean, it is all, but you know what, now it's habit. Now people that have been coming out here already, they just know the boulevard, they don't even go up to Main Road. They just turn off and come all the way down from you guys all the way down, and it's unfair. I mean, one, it is beyond dangerous. The road is very, very narrow. I am the crazy person with the signs. And just recently, signs have been broken, they have been run over, they have been stolen. So I know, Ms. Knapp, I know I've been trying to get back to you, but with the start of the school year, it went crazy. If we do put up those flashing lights indicating the speed limit, just to let you know, local residents, not you, all of you, will find it to be a game. How far can we get it? Because there are no, there are no consequences unless you put up one of those signs that actually give you a ticket. And guess what? That's self-monitoring. Another resolution that I have, and when a road has become dangerous and has become a bypass, which is not fair to any of us, believe me, I teach business, I worked on Wall Street. I am all about, the business growing, but at the expense of the dangers that you are putting on our roads. You are making it that even locals are using our roads. This is now 24/7. Last night till 1 o'clock in the morning, people just flying down our road. It interrupts our sleep, our quality of life, way too dangerous. We need to self-monitor. We cannot have police officers sitting on Factory, on Bay, on Peconic Bay Boulevard, which is extremely long. We can't expect that of our police department because we now have 40 wineries now, or events?
So Carrie, one of the things that you have in the email that you sent,
The drunk
you
drivers.
said in terms of questions, because we're asking questions for solutions, solution-driven, and you've articulated very clearly and the challenges on Peconic Bay Boulevard. You said one of the things you're asking, installing speed cushions. Is that a feasible thing to do on Peconic Bay Boulevard? Does anyone want to address that?
Nobody does because nobody knows. And I've sent information of what a speed cushion is. And when a road has become too dangerous and a road has become a bypass that is meant to be a residential area, a speed cushion is much different than a speed hump. It's much different than a speed bump. What it is one, they are removable. You can go to Traffic Logics, you can get them, they are rubber, they are removable, so it will not interfere with the snow plows. Two, another concern, people say, we need our fire trucks, we need our ambulances, 100%. There are 2 gaps that allow for these vehicles to pass through without hitting any bumps. 3, it self-monitors, it slows down the traffic because they are forced to slow down.
So do you know about, do you want, someone want to address speed cushions?
I know bumps and humps, but I haven't heard cushions, so.
Well, is that
But
worth
They're very
investigating?
similar to what Terry's saying, as far as the speed hump is very similar to that too. So I don't
And
know
it
whether,
allows you to do 30
Right.
miles an hour too.
right, I don't know whether it's just that it's removable, maybe that's why they call it the cushion instead.
No, the cushion is, well, one, it's removable.
Right, cause I
2,
looked
it
at it,
allows you to go over it at 30, you don't have to hit the brakes, slow down to
Right.
10 miles an hour.
right,
And 3, it has the 2 gaps in it to allow for an ambulance or a fire truck. And I believe I sent the document from the DOT to Chief Flatley and everybody else who wanted to listen. That goes through the Department of Transportation regulations, and everything is highlighted for you. Yes, I played that teacher role, and there are, cliff notes if you want to speak to.
So how would you like to respond to that?
I mean, we just do the enforcement end of it, we're not on the engineering side of it or the roadway side of it. No, Michael's not a traffic engineer, I'll give him that much credit. But it's a decision usually made on that level. For a road like the Boulevard, I mean, how many cushions you'd have to put up there to slow traffic every half mile? Then you're talking the whole length of that roadway, it would probably take 30 speed cushions or more just to
It'll be a deterrent.
try to slow traffic down. Probably would be. I can tell you though that that we do speed enforcement up there on a regular basis, and a lot of the people that we're stopping are local residents up there.
Yep.
So if you can try to work towards the mentality of the drivers that are driving up there, which your signs I think are a big help for, because it makes them understand that they're speeding, and there are people that are concerned about the speed limit up there, but I think you have to change the mentality of the drivers that live and reside in that area and use that roadway every day too.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that with the locals, they ignore it or they find it to be a joke. And when they see the signs, believe me, I was a teenager once myself, a long time ago. You see those signs, you're like, you're right.
So Carrie,
And
so
for it.
what we want to do is get some solutions from this,
And,
all right? So you've identified 3
Several.
things that could be done. So in terms of moving forward, solutions, should you and should Carrie come in? Because one of the things she says here is that she has over 100 residents from Peconic Bay Boulevard, Bay Avenue, Marlene, Sigsbee, and Bray that need a solution. Please understand the issues we face here and inform us if you have any intention of rectifying the problems. So should that be a follow-up conversation with her and a couple of you to talk about solutions?
Let me just step back for a second and understand there's a couple of things here. First, I know the engineer's been referred to a few times tonight. That's what he does. He's an engineer that tells us the feasibility or the infeasibility of being able to do something. He's not a policymaker. That's us. But there's a couple of issues. First of all, I would like to see New York State waive the town's authority to put speed cushions in, because to my knowledge, they cannot be put on public roads unless they're part of an engineered design road, which means a new road, not existing roads that have been around forever. But by all means, send me that information. And I've been responsive. I've been down there.
You were there, you actually
bro-
came out,
Well,
and you noticed it and you heard it too.
Yes, yeah, but there's a couple of different issues you have. First of all, waves, you can reprogram waves all you want, but a lot of what you just talked about is local traffic. So waves has no bearing on that, okay?
Right.
Well, so you can pass the petition, but I gotta tell you, Peconic Bay Boulevard, I know, I don't wanna diminish what your issues are, but they're not much different than a lot of roads in Southold. I understand you've become a bypass because of the full traffic. That's a situation, again, but the daily grind of listening to the cars and the speeding and all that. We get those complaints townwide.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't, believe me, I've been down Pequash, I've been down all of these roads that suffer the same thing. And again, we're having trouble controlling that. Yes, but Peconic Bay Boulevard is a bypass, and it's car after car, and I'm talking thousands of cars throughout the summer, and even now, I mean,
But, again,
we don't
there's
have
also,
respite.
there's also issues here where we don't, we're gonna try things, and I know that there has been a bit of a reaction to the speed, limits, the blanket limits, but the idea is to find solutions by trying things and see if they work or not, and not presuming in advance that they're not gonna work, or that they're gonna have a detrimental effect on the problem. There's certain things that are gonna have to be tried, given the uniqueness of the situation for a small town that's got 495 lane miles and a police department of 50-some odd officers.
I say hi, more police
So
officers.
Terry, thank you so much for addressing the problem, and however the solutions then are